Mike Landick. Let me get my screen going. Let's go about me first, and I'll come back. A lot of you know me, but professionally, I look like that. And I'm Director of Security Consulting for NTT Data Services. Underneath me, I've got a whole bunch of people. I have the pen testing department. I've got the vulnerability assessment management department. I've got the regulatory assessment department. And I have a whole team of virtual CISOs I place. That's me professionally. When I was your age, I was on academic probation and then kicked out of community college. I was told that actually before that, I was told I'd never graduate. I was in grammar school and told I'd never graduate high school. And I was told the best I could do was become a welder. Not that there's anything wrong with being a welder. So I was in my early 20s. I was working on a horse ranch shoveling horse manure, which is about the ugliest job you can have. My girlfriend was a pre-med at Stanford and said, if you don't become a doctor, I won't marry you. So I went back to my community college, begged and pleaded to let me back in. They let me back in, and the next thing I know, here I am. So about 2 months after I went to college. Just love teaching people hacking and pen testing. I've been doing it. In fact, this March will be the 10-year anniversary. I've been teaching this specific class. Wireless hacking to me is one of the most fun types of hacking. During COVID, the market for penetration testers that do web, did wireless went way down, almost to zero. In the last quarter, I'm seeing a big uptick in it. We're having more and more wireless engagements. It's probably it's the easiest to learn and the funnest. And I'm really passionate about teaching people. I promise you, there are those of you here that will be stuck and won't ask for help. And you'll let me go on and you'll get nothing from the class. That's horrible. Stop. We're not gonna go on until everyone who wants to get it gets it. And if you're happy not getting it, that's fine, but don't be ashamed to ask for help. For most of you, it's the first time using Kali Linux. There's a couple bits of bad news. All-day class. If you come and you get 8 hours of my time or usually more, and we start off with the itty-bitty, tedious command line stuff and work all the way through, and we're done with that. You really know all about 802.11, you know about the IP and encryption, and you pretty much know everything there is. For these short classes, there's actually a GUI built into Kali Linux called Fern that's all point and click, and you can go to a wireless network, and with a few clicks, you could actually grab the password from there. You can pivot to the network, and you can actually start hijacking sessions all point and click. The newest version of Kali Linux, so Kali has a release every quarter. The newest one broke that tool. So I was actually I downloaded the newest Kali Linux last night, and there's a bug in it that broke. What that means is we're going to do the tedious stuff. We're going to do the command line stuff. So the good news is you won't be script kiddies. The bad news is you're starting off the hard way, which in a lot of ways is good. What I would like to suggest you do, though, I'm going to jump around a lot, is everything I'm going to talk about is on GitHub. My GitHub I made for this. And if you download this presentation, you can actually copy and paste what I'm typing. So rather than try to type it in, if you get stuck or behind, and I'm a really slow typer, so don't worry about that. But if you get stuck or behind, just start copying and pasting. So it's github.com, /mlandic/Wi-Fi pen testing. So if you want to download that, if you're worried about keeping up, you can just literally copy and paste things into your Kali Linux command line, and you can keep up.
Oh, do you mind moving that Zoom bar? Because I saw some people trying to take pictures.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Because it's cutting off a little bit. I just want to make sure people know when they're screenshotting things.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, no need to take pictures. You're welcome. You can download it if you want to. And in my GitHub, there's a few tools I built there's a few Python scripts I have. The first one, you can download lots of word lists, and if you're patient, you can, download terabytes of word lists. The problem is word lists you use against a Windows system or website won't work with WPA. So what this is a Python script, but any password in the word list won't work in WPA, it throws it out. The next one's kind of fun. When I do wireless pen testing, more often than not, the password is their phone number. And what this Python tool is, you literally type the name and the area code, type that in space 213, and it creates a word list of every possible phone number in the 213 area code.
I cannot find the public version. It's not working.
Yeah, did you public that report? Give them 404.
You get it for copy and paste.
Once you report and get out, then there's only one.
And GitHub by chance.
DS majors,
Yeah, CS majors.
In the settings, there might be a setting to make it public and not.
You said that? Where do you see it? Oh, Yagi antenna. A Yagi antenna, and it's very directional, but you can hack Wi-Fi from like a mile away with that. It's working. Thank you very much. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, so before we'll get to this, but so what we have, those of you who have the box, you have these three things, and an Alpha card. These are called Alpha cards. It's the dongle of choice for hackers. We're not going to set them up yet, but if you were to go to DEF CON or a hacking conference, these are all over the place. They last forever. This is at least 10 years old. So go ahead and download this so you can keep up. The password is DPP space fast, all uppercase. A show of hands, who here is using Kali for the first time? Oh boy, okay. I'm gonna go super duper slow. Who here doesn't have Kali up and running? Who can't? Is there anyone here who hasn't gotten Kali up and running? This one? Who? Okay.
Just waiting on the down.
Oh, yeah, okay. Is there someone who can help you?
It's importing right now. Once it gets done, I might have to.
Oh, okay, you're okay, good. So this is good. Usually I spend the first half hour setting up Kali. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go back and forth with my slides and my Kali. So this is a very awkward class because I'm going back and forth. I don't use. Let me go ahead and launch my Kali right now. This Honey charge me. Okay. So I'm ordering a bunch of pizzas for tonight. You should probably order some drinks too.
Oda, did you get the pizza stuff done? Hey, Mike, do you mind looking at your phone again? Because, yeah, we're kind of too scared to touch it.
Yeah, he has my credit card, so
Oh,
I'm watching it very closely.
okay then.
He's under scrutiny.
I respect the trust.
Yes,
Where are the slides on your table?
that's a great question. If you go to GitHub. I'm so sorry, people, they're not there. I'm not,
Rooting for you.
Kyle. Going for just a minute. Apologize for this. I'm not usually this bad.
I haven't stopped sharing.
I'm still sharing.
Click the video mute button on that little.
Oh, right.
Or the security card.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yes,
Class.
there's plenty that's bad.
Active identity.
Anyway,
Say goodbye to your welfare.
usually invite everyone to join me on LinkedIn. About 2 days ago, I got permanently kicked off of LinkedIn for, I don't know what I did. Let me get this done real quick, then I'll
Did we have a hand?
I literally, if you search for Mike Lennox Secure on LinkedIn, I'm 100% gone.
So.
Growth control.
I'm so sorry, people. Okay, you should be able to see it now. And hopefully that's the last time I mess you guys up. Cyber psychology, that I would post lots of blogs, lots of tools, lots of practice things. It was actually pretty big. And one of the things I had on there was for practice, it was a fake SQL injection. If you passed a SQL injection payload to it, it would return the response as if you were hacking it like SQL injection. It was used just for training. There's absolutely no database behind it, but it was a fake SQL injection. And according to my log, they started getting a bunch of attacks from Eastern Europe. Eastern European hackers were trying to exploit my fake SQL injection. So to be a jerk, I changed the ODBC error messages to rude things in Russian. So when that's really funny. And they didn't think it was funny. And they majorly hacked my site and started using it to host adult videos, really inappropriate ones. So I was mad. And because I'm really funny, I cleaned the whole site up and changed all those pointers to Rickroll. So every time a firm started to get porn, it would go to a Rickroll. And I thought, then I hardened that website beyond, I harden websites for a living, right? I hardened it, everything I can do to harden the website, I hardened it. And they took complete control over it and I lost it. What they did is, do you remember that a few years ago, there was that GoDaddy, it hosts on GoDaddy? There's a GoDaddy 0 day. They actually hacked GoDaddy and pivoted from GoDaddy to take control of my site. So it's gone forever. But long story short, I pissed off Eastern Europe enough that now they've wiped out. I don't know what they did to LinkedIn, but LinkedIn just flat out, you'll never get your LinkedIn account back. And those of you who know me, I'm just not the inappropriate, I'll mess with Eastern Europe, but I'm very, my LinkedIn is my profession. So yeah, my LinkedIn is now gone. But so you have my email address. Let me reshare my email address. You can't connect with me on LinkedIn.
You might want to also explain what a 0 day is. Some
Oh, I'm
people might
sorry.
not know.
Yeah, if I use words you don't understand, a 0 day it's a vulnerability in a device, website, or system that threat actors know about, but the industry does not. So the life cycle is, bad guys, nation states, people will find the vulnerability. If you're good, you'll report it. Either you'll report it to a bug bounty program that can earn some money. You'll report it for free. Some hackers will sell them. And once the industry knows about it, they're assigned what's called a CVE, Common Vulnerability Enumeration. And that's that number you see with the year hyphen, that a bunch of numbers. That's where the federal government records all known vulnerabilities. So before the world knows about a vulnerability, if it's being actively exploited, that's called a 0 day. So if you need to get a hold, if you have any questions, want to talk, anything, feel free to email me. I'll always return your email. Let's just jump right into what we're going to be doing. So when we do a wireless pen test, that thing's a wagon. When we do a wireless pen test, we're going to identify the network. And in this case, the network is called Ice Cream Rally. And I just buy a bunch of old routers. Anytime a report comes out saying a router has a known vulnerability that can exploit, I go and buy a bunch before they fix it. So I got a whole closet of ones that get hacked. And the reason that this one says Ice Cream Rally is years ago I was doing research and I had two completely fake ice cream companies. One was called Ice Cream Rally, and the other was called Def Cone Ice Cream. It's sort of a play on words for DEF CON. They both had websites. They both had LinkedIn. They had employees. They appeared in every possible way to be real ice cream companies. My favorite part of the story is Def Cone Ice Cream had a marketing manager. It was totally fake, right? He had a LinkedIn site. He had a name. He had, social media. But I made him up completely. He was actually named by some industry as one of the top ice cream marketing managers in the country, but he didn't exist. That's how deep my cover went for him. And what I did is I'd go online to places like Fiverr, and I'd try to hire black hat hackers to hack their site. So I'd go on and say, I work for Def Cone Ice Cream. We want you to hack the secrets out of Ice Cream Rally. And I'd see who would hack what for money. And I also then I wanted to see how much a pen test. They were actually saying we'll do a full pen test for $5. And they were horrible. For $5 I get nothing. One guy actually said, here's your report, and tried to drop the Trojan horse into a PDF trying to hack me. Then there's one guy who gave me a full report, this beautiful report I did. At the bottom, he said, but you probably knew all these existed, haha. So I wrote back, and he said, I'm one of the best hackers in the world. And I said, all hackers think that. Who are you? And it turns out he was. He actually was in a different country where they had huge economic problems. And he was wanted by the FBI for hacking, and he literally hacked my site for $5. So I actually started using him for anytime I wrote a website that I wanted to make sure it wasn't hackable, I'd give him $5 and he'd tell me. But that's enough of why we're using Ice Cream Rally. So what we're going to do is we're going to identify a network, which is Ice Cream Rally. We're then going to gain access. What we're going to do is we're going to capture a TCP handshake, and we'll talk about what TCP is. We're going to then decrypt that encrypted password. We're gonna join the network. And that's probably where we'll stop tonight. If this is a real pen test, what we'd do is we would try to gain access to the access point. We would use a brute force or would find, like, like I said, vulnerabilities there. Very rarely do we actually do post-exploitation in a wireless pen test. That's very unusual, but post-exploitation is when we would pivot from the access point into the network and try to get take over their domain controllers, for example. So any questions on that? Oh, that's a great question. On a Windows network, when you log into Windows, your computer is being controlled and all access is being controlled by what's called a Windows Active Directory. And a Windows Active Directory is controlled by servers called domain controllers. So when you're on a pen test, your ultimate goal, usually when you look at the goals of a pen test, the ultimate goal for a full pen test is to get access to domain controllers. Or if you're a bad guy, your ultimate goal is to get access to domain controllers. So does everyone see this so far? Okay. So if up here, mine would be different. If you see this terminal, go ahead and click that and get to here. Now, if you get stuck, let me know, but sudo, the command sudo tells the Linux kernel, I want to do something that most people can't. It's called privileged access. When you hear privileged access, that means you're running as an administrator. You're going to type airmon -ng. So AIRMON-ng, and just leave it at that and click enter. It'll ask you for your password. For most of you, the password is Callie, and it'll be blank. And what we did is, like Windows, when you launch your Windows, you automatically have Wi-Fi on it. With Linux, you have to specify what's called your network interface. They're not it's not unless most Linux distros aren't that smooth. So for those of you who have a box, open up each of these three things. If you don't have a box, you use something with the dongle, go ahead and plug that in now. So if you have one of these, go ahead and screw the antenna on. You have a really big one to screw on, but probably the small one in here. I use mine. I take mine and I put it on a tripod and I go somewhere and just point it across the big area. And now, if there's times you want this to be long, they do make extenders that go between the dongle antenna. Those actually reduce your signal. Always use a long one of these. Go ahead and plug that in.
Oh, hey, Mike, what did you type again?
Oh, sudo sudo space AIRMON -ng.
Yeah, do you mind blowing it up a little bit for us, please?
No. You know what?
I believe we, like go to like actions or like view. I believe there's a way to blow it up because I've seen it done before.
Just hit control plus. Yeah.
Thanks, Alex.
Or control shift plus.
Control it.
Yeah.
Control shift plus.
There you go.
So now now go ahead and plug your device in. And what'll happen is a lot of you will be prompted for this, and you're going to say connect to virtual machine. What happens is that your operating system wants to know where they should direct that input. If you did pop up, I'm using if you can just find your movable devices, go ahead and click connect. It's called Realtek. Realtek, and this is why. So the reason using these dongles and nothing else is your Wi-Fi antenna in your computers is designed to go to an access point, lock it in, and not allow anything to interfere. What we're doing is we're intentionally interfering. We're going to go ahead and intercept those things. So The reason we're using these is the driver in these will allow us to inject packets into the transmission. So the way to test if it worked is go ahead and do it again. You can just push the up arrow and you should have something. It should say Realtek Semiconductor Incorporated. If you don't have something there, it means it didn't work. So I want to hold here and make sure everyone has something, because if you don't have something, it's not going to work for you. It'll be in this thing called Realtek. Yeah, anything you have plugged into USB will be showing up there. Stand up with the Pacific. They don't always pop up. Yeah, are you using VirtualBox or? You want to find a way to add.
Read it to the worst.
There we go. If I bottom it down.
There might be a pop-up when you plug it in from the host, asking you if you want to connect that device into the VM or using the host.
Anyone else have any trouble? Anyone here know how to use virtual? I'm a VM player. Anyone here a VirtualBox person? Okay, could the VirtualBox people help them get their antenna connected?
No, I got it back to you.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Should I install sound unit? Upgrade a package?
I did. I downloaded the license. So I know.
I added it, but it's not showing up on the
That's correct.
No, I'm sorry. That's oh, it's just okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I know this is a virtual box, well.
Let's, people get it successfully. Okay, we'll get someone who knows.
Plug it in. Yeah, well.
Maybe they turn on, maybe virtually. Oh, you did?
But no, I didn't like.
Because usually my experience.
What's up?
Show of hands, who here is not working? Yeah. Who here is not working using VirtualBox? Who here working that can help someone else? If you've got your VirtualBox working, can you help someone who's not working? Don't be shy. Is anyone here using VM Player that's not working?
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly, we're an angle.
How's this thing ready? Yeah, in general.
So far.
No, it's not. It's not even.
Anyone? Get blocks still struggling over here. Still blocks.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Not working, but I'm just pulling where player.
No, but.
It's an arrow page.
Oh, you need to get.
I know.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, what's your name?
Has anybody? Has anyone made any progress or are they still down the water? Progress?
In the water.
You're down the water and you're using VirtualBox? I don't know either VirtualBox. Anyone here using Hyper-V that got theirs to work?
Yeah.
We have two Hyper-V people that are down the water.
Haven't been using Hyper-V for a while. So I can take a look.
You take a look? Thank you.
Usually just have. So sorry.
It's your computer. $20.
Got this far. I'm trying to remember, yes.
I can buy a new phone.
But I don't mention the post.
Windows. Sure.
That's what it is.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the giant 1 terabyte. That's great. We got a Yes. Yes. What's up? What's the same problem? Oh, okay, that's the same problem as those guys have.
But you're using VM Player.
Yeah, I'm using. Let me try to see that. I'm like, I just hit retry and it relaxes and it works. And then once it works, when I go load it to open the.
You're using.
Okay, so.
Let's see what happens. Yeah, typically OVA to be. Try to get the next. What happened is OVA. That's why it's taking.
Oh, we don't take it into the whole proprietary.
Exactly. You're going from.
No, you're. I know, that's.
Sorry, you're being thrown everywhere. Yeah, the actual one. It's like.
Go to.
It's like. He's not virtual box right now.
Yeah.
Oh, you got all your stuff?
And
Basically, what I had real quick.
But it's also my system.
Yeah. I did it because I felt like I didn't use it. It was funny. Yeah. Random 15 minutes.
2013. I have one for the 2010 Maxwell Gears and I need it. Yes, yeah, 7.
Isn't it like the Bible?
No, I just. It's just not. That's it, like, computer. As it is.
You watch, you.
We're almost done.
Yeah.
What's up?
There's supposed to be a light here.
But we haven't done anything. We've only read this. That's on the ballot.
It's like, so connecting and disconnecting. This is why. Yeah, we'll probably share.
Yeah.
No, just like you guys see.
Oh,
I passed it class. I did really good at the class. And also it was like school too. I slightly cleaned my skin.
Okay, so show of hands, who here does not have Kali Linux installed on their computer with commands running? Who here does not have Kali Linux right now who needs a buddy? Can you buddy up, please? Okay. As well. No. It won't let me. You want to move like here? Then you have your thing set up. Are y'all almost done? No, you tell me. I know. I appreciate you helping. They seem okay. So is everybody okay and it has a buddy or Hallie? Last call? Okay, cool.
Okay, let's go ahead and get going. So right now, what's happening is your interface is like a normal interface. What we need to do is take it out of its normal interface and put it in what's called monitoring mode. What you do now is you type in sudo. Report airmon -ng and the nomenclature is Airmon's part of the aircrack NG suite, and Airmon is the aircrack that puts in the monitoring mode. Go ahead and type start, then WLAN 0, and you see up here where it says under interfaces. If you have something other than that, go ahead and type that. If yours says WLAN 1, type in that. Whatever you have under interface, type that. For most of you, with the WLAN 0. Like that. And when you do that, you'll get a confirmation. Like this. And it takes a while. You can see mine is still going. Don't worry if it takes a long time. And you'll get a confirmation that says monitoring mode enabled. Well, I know it's hard to see, let me make it a little bit bigger. I typed in sudo Airmod-ng space start space WLAN0. Getting happy faces. Anyone getting something other than my remote enabled? Yeah, a little better. That probably means your card got your card got unplugged.
Our keeps on disconnecting.
That's what's happening. It's probably being pushed back to the host. So go ahead and reconnect your card. And that's what's happening. Yeah, Alex. How many are left, Alex? One left.
Oh, just download.
Okay, anyone still waiting for theirs to go? What's happening with yours? Okay, go ahead and put it on. Okay, so what we're going to do now is there's parts of your Linux kernel that are there for a good reason, but when we're pen testing, get in the way. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do this. We're going to retype it again. We're going to type in sudo Airmon-ng space the word check and the word kill. And what we're saying is, tell me any PIDs, stands for ID, check for those, and anything gets in the way, kill that process. And it killed the process for us.
What does that mean?
So,
What does that mean? What?
so they kill the process, so. The current Linux and Windows both have processes that run. You know, some processes provide your interfaces, and some are back-end processes you don't see. Think of them as running programs. And when you terminate a program, the slang is to kill it. And those are identified by process identifiers or PIDs, PID. So what the slang is, we killed the PID.
Hey, Mike,
Yeah,
for some reason, my command line is actually unable to go out and detect WLAN 0. Is there a chance that like I can go out and figure out what the intended thing is? Because Airmont NG start WLAN 0, that's essentially getting into the wireless network, isn't it?
yeah, so what's the,
It's just saying it doesn't exist.
yeah, your graphics, your card got this attached. I'm not sure why they were getting it attached, but what's happening is if it's not funding WLAN 0, it means you're using.
My network card's giving problems.
I think it's disconnecting from your virtual, it's being disconnected from your VM and connected to the host. And what seems to be happening is some people.
Interesting.
So the next part gets really fun. And if you have the PowerPoint open, you can copy and paste. If you don't, it looks like this. It's sudo aerodump ng space WLAN 0. And then the last part is optional. I like this because it gives me extra information. That's space -- manufacturer. And this is part of our reconnaissance, and this is where we really start getting to see some fun stuff. I'm nerdy enough that I'll just run this at home and watch my neighborhood. At this point, when you run this, you're technically not breaking any laws. You don't need to have a signed contract or rules of engagement because all you're doing is looking at what's being publicly broadcast. I'm going to tell you at what part of this class you go from being an observer to being a hacker. So if you do this to your neighbor or the school network, you've crossed the line. At this point, we're not crossing the lines. I coined a term I call creepy but not illegal. You know, if you park in front of someone's house and their curtains open, you watch them eat dinner, that's really creepy, but technically not illegal. At this point, we're being creepy but not illegal. What's that? So we're going to put. I'm just going to paste mine in. But sudo, just like before, this one's aerodump. It's not airmon. It's aerodump -ng. Then your network interface card WLAN 0. And your manufacturer, just to give us extra information. And the reason I do manufacturer. Point is all capitals CPP space fast. Getting to this, is it working? You believe it, louder?
For the manufacturing flag.
Yeah.
that you're using there, is that just pull, where is it pulling that list from to like reference?
Oh, that's a great question. So the question is, how does the manufacturer, and if you look to the left under BSS ID, that's actually, all that is what's called a MAC address. And a MAC address is every device you buy, your cell phone, your network card, any connected device you buy has a MAC address. It's a way to trace it. And part of the nomenclature, the naming convention, the MAC address, actually maps to manufacturers. So I froze my screen here so you can see it. So all the manufacturer column did is it essentially decoded the BSS ID column. And the BSS ID is your MAC address. That's, yeah, did you do that? This is where, the guy. Don't have any issues. Ellie, so anytime I say W land,
We have this validates the same concept.
So, yeah, so. Where it says, W land 0, just replace with W land 0 MON. If you're using an older version of Kelly. The cool thing is after we're done, I'll tell you how to use that Zoe was talking about. He said it's lost.
Yeah, I did that. I used the MON, but it's still failing to initialize.
Let me take a look. The challenge of Cali is every few years they change it, so it's evolved over the years. Let's take a look. So,
I did that. I found.
okay, yeah, you use it.
And then
What did you achieve?
I got to look at it.
Prerequisites to being a psychopath. This is separate.
I've been doing this shit since I was 6. You should have seen what I did to the whole sound system when I was 8 years old.
Like, am I like developing schizo while I'm executing this? Oh. Well, this is just constant.
It's like
Oh my god.
Yeah, your network card carries that again. So. I'm glad we had that. That's all this happens. Okay, yes.
I never got one.
You never got one? An hour ago. Okay.
Troubleshooting.
Okay.
So maybe people.
Okay. Everyone here so far that wants to be here? For you, it's still scrolling. So what you're seeing here is the top half, as you can probably figure out, are wireless access points we can see. And not surprising, most of them are Cal Poly. And when I look at this, the reason I like to use manufacturer, I'm looking at Hewlett Packard Aruba. I know it's going to be hard. I know that if I'm going to hack into that, they've got a whole bunch of intrusion prevention things and controls, make my job hard. Things we care about, we care a lot about the BSS ID, and we care a lot about the channel. You see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We care a lot about the channel, and then under encryption, ENCCon, you can we care a lot about older algorithms. Now these are all WPA is the most current. Open obviously is exciting as well, but those are things we care about. Underneath, it gets really cool. ESS ID and station. Station on the bottom maps to BSS ID on the top. And those are all devices connect So those BSS IDs are all of your cell phones. Those are your cell phones attached. So if you look at the one that says like, it's just, I froze one before it was done. Those are all your cell phones attached to all of these networks. So if you look at this, these are all the networks that are going. Oh my goodness. So holy smokes. You see where it says WEP? That was deprecated well over 10 years ago because it's so insecure. Exist. So what we're going to do now. Unfortunately, we need to find our ice cream rally. So we have to sort. So if you push the letter S, we're sorting by BSS ID, and you can see it there at the top, at the very top row. It says sorting by BSS ID. You push S again, sorts by power level, beacon numbers, data packets, packet rate, channel, max data rate, encryption, and there we go. So push spacebar. The minute you can see ice cream rally, push your spacebar to freeze it. Out here, we care about the BSS ID, and we care about the channel. In this case, it's channel 6. You want to copy, you're going to copy, unless you've got a really good memory. BSS ID. Just highlight it, just drag your mouse to highlight it. Right click it and say copy selection. Okay. And then save that somewhere. We're going to use that a lot for the rest of the night as we attack the ice cream rally security cams. You getting caught up?
So waiting.
Okay. Don't use a DVD. And these are you don't need them. As far as I'm concerned, that the DVDs and these things are untrusted sources. Yeah. And I did.
There's only been like 2 so far.
Yeah, that's fine. Is this one up here? So for those who are catching up, the command is sudo arrow dump -ng. Your network interface is usually WLAN 0. And if you want this information, -- manufacturer. For those of you at home, you don't have to use ice cream rally. Find your home router. You're not going to hurt anything, I promise. Go ahead and find your home router and freeze it and copy your BSS ID. And remember what your channel is. Okay. Can I move on now? Ready to move on? Okay. So now we're going to collect the handshake. So what happens is a TCP transport. Yes. What does TCP stand for? Yeah, who said that?
Transport something for you.
I mean, who said it? You have to answer the question.
Yeah.
Okay, So a TCP handshake is like when you walk home, when you come home from school and go to your house, your phone beacons out, and let's say your wireless network is called home Wi-Fi. Your phone is always beaconing out saying, home Wi-Fi, are you there? Home Wi-Fi, are you there? It's doing it right now. That's what we saw, that bottom layer. That's what we saw. When you get home, your wireless access point at home says, yes, I'm here, let's connect. Send me your password. And your phone sends a password, and the wireless access point says your password is correct. Here is the information to encrypt. It's PKI. Here's the information. In the scenario I just described, what's the weakness in that scenario? Your phone beacons out to the access point. The access point says, what's the password? Your phone goes back and says, here's my password. And the access point says, okay, here's the encrypted information for us to have an encrypted conversation. What is the architectural weakness of that protocol? Well, you go home and your phone beacons out and says, hey, access point, are you there? The access point says, yes, I'm here. Send me your password. And the phone says, okay, here's a password. The access point says, yes, that's correct. Here is the information for us to have an encrypted conversation. And from that point on, the conversation is encrypted. What is the weakness of that protocol?
The device doesn't ask the Wi-Fi router for its password. Like there's one check one way from the router to the device, but there's no check the other way from the device to the router.
You're not quite, not antenna worthy.
Checks going on at one.
No, there's no collisions happening.
Someone could like try to intercept the password as it's sent to them.
Why? You're right, why? Yeah.
Well, that's what's not encrypted.
That's not being encrypted, that would be before it's sent.
Yes. Someone asks you, you're in a job interview, and they say, what's the weakness? The weakness is the key information is being sent in the clear, which means if we're being clever and watching these things, we then have the password. And in this case, the password is called a pre-shared key. So you just unscrew that, screw that on, and you like triple your coverage in. Collect antennas is for fun. I got a whole closet full of crazy antennas, and it's super duper illegal. So you can Google. I'm not going to give it to you. Every country in the world follows the FCC or US FCC guidance. It says these can only be so powerful. So they ship with everyone in the world ship US standard. There's one country in the world that says we don't care, be as powerful as you want, and that's Bolivia. So when you buy one of these in Bolivia, it's unrestricted. It just goes crazy. If you want to Google how to put your Alpha card into Bolivian mode, by the way, it's when I talked about cross the line, that crosses the line. You know, it's on FCC violation, but you can totally like quadruple the power of your Alpha card. So, does everyone understand the weakness of the protocol? My phone in clear text says, hey, access point, you there. The access point in clear text says, yeah, I'm here. What's our pre-shared key? We call the password. It sends a pre-shared key in clear text. The access point then sends back the information for encryption, and at that point on, it sells ciphertext. But in clear text, it sends the pre-shared key or the password. So what we're going to do now is is the pizza here? I got lost is why it's running late. So what we're going to do now, if you look at this, in this case, you probably want to copy and paste it on. What we're going to do here, on this slide, we're going to do the same. We're going to do arrow dump. We're going to do arrow dump again. We're going to type sudo, which means put it in privileged mode, arrow dump -ng, WLAN 0 interface, and the BSS ID, that's the MAC address of the target, that's of the access point. Okay. And I know I was walking through this. The -W is where it directs the output. So standard out is to your screen, -W means open a pipe to write to the operating system. And whatever you want to call that file, I call mine WPA file ice cream run, hyphen, then your channel. And in this case, it says one here, it's actually channel 6 here. That, for those of you in the room, it's channel 6. Those of you at home, I really hope you're hacking your own Wi-Fi. And then the next one is hyphen output format. AeroDump does 4 different formats. PCAP, so you guys being fast, I'm assuming work with PCAPs, you can import in Wireshark, comma separated values, Kismet and NetXML. So this is a whole lot of writing to do. I encourage you to copy and paste it if you can. But for our exercise, and again, this is channel 6 today. For this exercise, we're not attacking the school access points. We're attacking the ice cream run CAN access point. You're gonna use this BSS ID in channel 6. Let's leave this up here before I jump to it.
Where can I find the slides?
Oh, if you go to the GitHub.
I don't think they're on the.
Oh, yeah, go ahead and refresh it. I didn't click the commit button.
Oh, yeah, they're there.
Yeah, today's not my best night. And what this does is this actually crosses a line, and this is, I'm not sure it's illegal, but it's really, really close. What this does is it intercepts both the clear text and the ciphertext and writes it as a PCAP file to that text file we just created. That's a full blown, for those of you in the forensics who've had your forensic classes, you know, the PCAP, what you open up in Wireshark, it's just like any other forensic exercise, but instead of us looking at legitimately obtained logs, we're printing our own. And those of you who are wondering, gee, Mike, you're saving ciphertext to the file system, isn't that irreversible? The answer is, because of the weakness in the protocol, we're capturing the handshake and clear text. And we're going to use that then to decrypt the entire PCAP. So essentially, if you're a really clever pen tester, what you would do is you'd take a Raspberry Pi, you'd run this, put this in the bottom of a plant with a really big battery, and give the plant to the receptionist at your target site, and then it just capture that company's traffic for a couple of days. Right before the battery runs out, you SSH in there, pull the PCAPs, and you've captured all their traffic and all the passwords. And it's okay if you write some really big one to type. Those of you who've typed it successfully, where's my Zoom admin? I think they're getting a pizza. If you could, why don't you take what you typed and put it in the Zoom chat for people at home? Now, people at home, the BSS ID won't work because it's here and not at your house. I'd love if you took your home Wi-Fi BSS ID and put it here. It won't break anything. Is all that traffic is being saved to my system. And you notice down here, there's nothing connected to that wireless. What I'm going to do is I'm going to attach my cell phone to that wireless network. And I want you to pay close attention to the upper right-hand corner of your screen. It's not mine, but yours. And as I connect to this, upper right-hand corner, so it says WPA handshake. What that tells us is it tells us that we've now captured the clear text credentials of the network. So at this point, we have passwords unencrypted. And at the bottom, it's important to note, you see the bottom? That's my cell phone connected to the network. So at this point, we have two choices. If all we care about is the password, we're done. If we're trying to collect a whole bunch of data, we can let this run for days and days. So does everyone here have WPA handshake at the upper right-hand screen? Okay, what that means is you now have my password. So we'll see the break out of this. Yeah.
You joined it, that wasn't good.
Yeah, just call me Mike, by the way. I'm Mike. I'm just gonna do this a few times. If you don't have it captured, we'll see this a few times.
Hey, Mike?
Yeah.
My buddy's having some issues with the fence.
Okay.
So I put root at AT, says, and it's.
Let me take a look.
The guy found the place.
Yay.
Thank you, Mike.
You're missing the V.
For those that do want pizza, you're more than welcome to start there. We got it.
Everyone has some pizza. What are they gonna do?
I just put it all.
Now, like an intermission. By the way. Can you please use the hand sanitizer? Let me.
Only use the hand.
Yeah, I don't have any.
Please use the hand sanitizer. Yeah. Okay, so where's the plates? Okay, so plates, okay. Thank you for using it. I'm sorry. Yeah. I like looking at it. Oh, does anyone want stickers, by the way? I'll go ahead and leave. Anyone wants to grab them? But there's stickers and they're.
don't wanna say it's.
So.
Yeah.
To make one see.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Joe is having. Solid. And when I started. Just, if you guys started, never, they killed it on you.
Yeah.
I think it's. Yeah.
Oh.
Anything with. The fact we have ciphertext inside clear text means we can grab it and then try to decrypt it. So go ahead and do Control C and break out of this. You all have your capture. Now, we're not, I'm going to skip tonight, but you have the slides. What happens is you all are waiting for me. You were all waiting for me to log in to capture my handshake. If you don't have that luxury, what we do is we do what's called a deauthorization attack. And your router, all of your routers, part of the TCP protocol, has something called deauth built into it, where the router can kick someone off of the network. So your home router and every other router in the world, at will can say you're kicked off. But what happens is your devices, your phone, any device, when it gets kicked off, it tries to rejoin. So you walk home, you log into your router, you're doing your homework, and all of a sudden you're booted off. Invisibly to you, your laptop or your phone, your iPad, whatever, goes back to the router and says, hey, let me rejoin. Here's my password. So if we're doing a pen test and we're not doing a handshake, we can do something called a deauth attack. And it's here in the we can't do it now because if everyone in the classroom deauth my router, it would melt. But it literally is just this command here. You copy and paste. There's a few things we care about here. A deauth equals 4 sends 4 packets. And when I pen test, it really is a distance thing. If I'm in the same room or as the router, I'll do 4. If I'm in the same building, I'll do 7. If I'm really far away using the big Yagi antenna, It may be several hundred to actually make it stick. Now, here's where it gets uncool. If you just leave that off and say deauth, if you think of it in terms of combat, it'll be suppressing fire. You will be sending deauth packets forever. So your phone connects and milliseconds later it's deconnected. So for all practical purposes, you know, do you guys know what a DOS attack is? Denial of service. You could, this is with this one line of code, you can launch a clear denial of service attack. Now in the code I gave you, if in the code we gave you here, there's the -C. Actually, I took it off. The -C is the endpoint. So if you're going to deauth me, you would use the BSID of the router you want to use, which is -A, and then -C is the attached client. If you don't put a -C there, every attached device gets deauth. So the reason this is insidious is pretend you're in class taking a final, and the final is an online final. You launch this against the access point in the classroom, and that access point disappears. This totally crosses lines with legal. We're talking about where you cross the line. At that point, you're talking jail. But that's another weakness in the protocol, is anyone with an alpha card or the dongle you're using can take an access point completely offline. So that's where it gets interesting. Forensically, you guys are fast, which is forensic. Forensically speaking, in the logs will be your MAC address setting the deauth packets, because the deauth packet is a unique thing. That said, part of the beauty of an alpha card is you can change your MAC address from what the manufacturer assigned it to anything you want to. So you could literally capture the MAC address of your friend's phone that MAC address, and you pick out a CPP.
Is that the only device that can spoof the MAC address of somebody else?
It's not even, I'm not sure even call it spooking it. What you literally do is you override the interface has it built in, right? You literally go in the interface and say, I want to replace it with this. So if you're a wireless pen tester, I always give them my MAC address up front. So part of the rules we gave you, here is my MAC address. Anything you see from this MAC address is me. Anything not from this MAC address is not me. And then I give them my phone number, of course. If this MAC address causes problems, you call this phone number, my cell phone ASAP, and I'll stand down. But the reason forensics is so difficult on a wireless attack is because with the alpha cards, those of you who have the smaller ones, it works the same way, it's the same chipset. You can actually change the interface's MAC address, and it's completely untraceable. So from a forensics point of view, it's a nightmare. Now, that said, forensically, I have to be within really a few hundred yards of my target. So there, you know, if you're as a pen tester, I don't mind getting caught. As a pen tester, I love getting caught because it means my client was doing something right. You know, a lot of pen testers, oh, I got caught. For me, it's a chance to compliment the thing. You did these things right. It's almost a purple teaming exercise. If you're a bad guy doing illegal things, your goal is to not go to jail. And if your goal is to not go to jail, getting within a few hundred yards of your target's a very big risk. You know, most bad guys using Wi-Fi will do what I talked about. They'll plant a device, they'll build a device, they'll use a Raspberry Pi or something, a similar type of board. And when I built, I built one where I took one of these and I took it apart and I put it inside a Starbucks cup with a big battery. So I could walk around the Starbucks cup and do this remotely. But part of the pen test. But I forget we got digressed. But yeah, so forensically speaking, it's a nightmare to figure these things out. So don't be a jerk with this, right? When I teach pen testing, your job is to use it for legal purposes and not be a jerk. Using this deauth command, you can be a jerk. So if you're doing a pen test and you're getting impatient, you would deauth somebody. Now, remember, when you deauth them, they may be doing work, maybe FaceTiming a loved one. You're interfering with their day. So typically on the rules of engagement of wireless pen test would be you're not allowed to deauth anybody. You have to sit patiently. Any questions on deauth? And again, it's right here in the handout. If you do this to someone who you don't have permission for, you're breaking the law and being a jerk.
We have a question over here.
Yeah,
So if somebody is trying to deauth you, how do you stop it?
put them down. I mean, there's really no. You had I think the Arubas may have it. Cisco, there's some high-end enterprise routers that have an attack back feature built in. The minute you bring up your interface, it shoots you down before you can deauth it. I teach classes sometimes in very classified areas. And I went to teach a wireless class and I couldn't bring up anything. And I finally said, what kind of gear are you running? And they had the high-end Cisco. I said, you have to whitelist me. I can't do a thing here. So if you're running a high-end enterprise, you're probably not using wireless anyway, right? So if you go to the DoD or the NSA, there's not going to be Wi-Fi, and they will have those suppressing devices. The kind of pen testing we're doing now really would be what's called an SMB, small to medium-sized businesses, doctors' offices, lawyers' offices. But if you were to go to Microsoft's headquarters, this won't work for you.
So, will the Rubas and their attack back feature, wouldn't it just be like writing some scripts, or like how
What
how does
happens?
that work exactly? Like
The high-end gear, it's actually pretty cool. They have their routers spaced throughout your organization, your enterprise, so there's perfect coverage everywhere. But what they can do is they can actually triangulate down to a foot. So if I were to bring up my my network interface, they would know within a foot of where it was. Now they would recognize it as being unauthorized and then start DOSing me. Now, it's a cat and mouse game, because if I could forge a MAC address of a trusted device, I could buy myself some time. But it's a cat and mouse game. But they triangulate you with, forensically speaking, they would triangulate within a few feet that send security. Now, pen testers, we hide things like in cups, we hide them in things that are harder to find. But eventually they would know that potted plant on the desk doesn't belong there. They'd know that a guy without a badge holding a Starbucks cup is suspicious. But it's a cat and mouse game. But again, if they've got that little level of security, what I'm teaching you now probably wouldn't work anyway.
yeah, I mean it's a little more advanced than script kiddie stuff, but it's
Yeah, this is the script kiddie stuff that I was planning to teach script kiddie stuff when I came tonight. But the problem with Kelly is things break frequently. When I use Kelly when I teach, professionally speaking, I don't use Kelly. I actually just use Ubuntu, and I have scripts I write that will load whatever I load my usual tool portfolio. Because Kelly keeps breaking things. Tonight's a good example. At home, I had this class running perfectly. Last night, I got nervous and said, I'm going to download the newest version of Kelly because all the students were yelling. So I downloaded the Kelly you're running, and it went great. So I was up all night trying to fix it, and I gave up this morning. Just said, screw it. We're going old school. Yeah, so we're going old school. Now, the challenge we have is you all have a hashed version of my password. And in forensics that a hashed version can't be undone. But there's a tool in your AirCrack NG suite called AirCrack. So it's remarkably easy. First, we have to do one thing. I'm going to go off script because we don't have time for it to download a big word list. And in Linux as well as Windows, the echo command just echoes back whatever you pass to it. So we're going to pass the string Cinderella with a capital C because that's the password. We're passing echo Cinderella, and we're redirecting the output of that from standard out into WPA wordlist.txt. So when I do this, it'll create a file called WPA wordlist.txt, and the only content will be the string Cinderella. So go ahead and type echo Cinderella, redirect, whatever you want. It's probably easy if you type what I have. Thank you. So usually your word list, your dictionary, for dictionary tag, you've got a word list file. They contain hundreds of thousands or millions. Ours contain one. So usually this is going to let run all night. I'll start it off at dinner. The next morning it's there. This will literally take us milliseconds to crack. So we're gonna crack this in milliseconds. So does everyone have their word list text file created? Any problems there? So next you're going to type, literally you're going to type sudo aircrack -ng, and I get lazy, just asterisk.cap. We only have one. And the output -w for output, or in this case is input. Then whatever you called your file. So go ahead and copy and paste that into your command line prompt. Click enter, and within milliseconds, you should have cracked the password. Has anyone got it yet? I'm sorry. Here. I'm so sorry. I catch you off. Wild card because I'm too lazy to type it with a PCAP. Yep. You got it?
Yeah.
So if this essentially, there's word list built in the Kali, and there's word list you can download. But at this point, you now have the ability to break in through any wireless network.
So if we didn't know the password was Cinderella, we'd have to put like a whole bunch of different.
Well, you would put it, you download a big word, you'd Google WPA word list, and there's tons to choose from. You simply download it, and with the hyphen W, just put the name or path to that.
Okay.
And be
What
prepared.
would happen if the password wasn't in?
Oftentimes it's not. The truth of the matter is, in the real world, if that happened, there's password cracking services online that you could pay a few bucks to, get yourself a Visa gift card. It's like $5, don't use your own credit card. It's like $5 and they'll crack it for you. Yeah. For those of you who you know what a salt is and a hash is. But you encrypt a one-way encryption of a string creates a hash, and the hash is reversible except by these dictionary tags. And when I started off, a dictionary tag was theoretically impossible because we didn't have the computing power. Then 10 years ago, they could do it in weeks. And now with GPUs, they can do it in seconds. And now with an 8 character, now with a 14 character password, if you work in big organizations, my password has to be 14 characters and multi-factor, because every time our ability to decrypt hashes improves, the passwords have to get longer. And, now with quantum computing, forget it, But what they do is because statistically, we don't use random passwords. In this, if on this campus, there'll be lots of people using the same password just because we're humans. So assault is before they encrypt your string, they take a random bit of information, concatenate it, and encrypt it together. It's almost a way of adding length and complexity to a password. WPA is the same thing, but the salt they use is your ESS ID. Remember your ESS ID was your name? They actually use the ESS ID as a salt. And of course, the weakness in that protocol is we know what the ESS ID is, so it's almost irrelevant. So when you have one of these, if your word list doesn't work and you upload it, you simply say, here's the ESS ID, here's the ciphertext by one-way hash, here's the hash. They then combine it, they crack it for you, and the following day, they give it to you. You are working with that by obviously with criminals, most are in Eastern Europe. But, it's the reality is, if the hackers are doing anything the hackers are doing, the pen testers have to do to demonstrate that. If you go to your client and say, I can crack that, they have a false sense of security because we all know for $5 or a small amount of Bitcoin, you have to crack online. So I always tell that part of the rules of engagement I have is, do you want me to have this uploaded? Because in my mind, the minute I get that hash and the ESS ID, it's over anyway. Whether I can crack it or not on my laptop or my home lab, I've got a bunch of GPUs. It's irrelevant because there's somebody in Eastern Europe who's got rainbow tables or every possible, they've got rainbow tables in a massive Oracle database. They're going to crack it for me in a few hours anyway. So, this. But found in the real world, you've got hundreds or thousands or millions it takes all night. At this point, we now have access to the wireless network. Are you happy? Woo! There you go. So, it's getting kind of late. There's a few more things we could do. If we could do a couple things, we can call it here because what would happen next is if this is a real pen test, I go after your access point. Try to once you're into the network, what I do is I'd run Nmat, and usually it's actually if you there's a lot of ways to find the access point. I try to brute force it, or I'd use a tool like Nexus or Nexpos or OpenVAST, and I'd find known exploitable vulnerabilities doing it that way. Very rarely would I go after their endpoints unless that was prearranged. Unless it's prearranged with your client, you never ever go after endpoints or traffic. You stick with your goal. Let me show you one last thing here. This takes a long time to run, but WPS stands for Wi-Fi Protected Setup. And when you go home to your houses and you have your wireless access point, there's a button rather than type. There's a button you can push that joins it. That's called your WPS. They call it Express Setup. There's a bunch of fancy names. The protocol is WPS. And what WPS is, you push that button, and it will. You push that button, and it will send you in clear text a string of 7 to 9 characters, and you send them back. And if you send them back, it calls it good and sends you the pre-shred key. And the reason they felt that was secure is it's very quick, right? That no one's going to notice because it's a very quick thing. And if I'm able to see that, I'm already on the network anyway. So who cares? Now, the problem with that protocol is it's always listening for those. So I can send it 0000001 and it says no. And I can send it 00002 and it says no. And I can keep doing that. And there's no brute force protection built into that protocol. It's a very poor design, obviously. But they figured who's gonna spend all that time typing those things in? Well, obviously the answer is no one's gonna do it manually. So there's a two-step attack. The way you find those WPS vulnerability is you type sudo wash, just like you're washing, and this is actually a lowercase I. Hyphen wash, then your interface. So if you type in sudo wash wlan 0, hopefully the only thing we'll see here is my my little router.
I'm on it.
What are you? There we go. And this will give me a list of all the devices it finds that are vulnerable to WPS attack. Yeah,
Guessing that's the one that's on the school network.
it's on the school network, but it's also, it's almost, it's what's called split. It's on your network, but it also has a terminal wireless access point built into it.
Yeah, 'cause why is it connecting it? Because it's a wireless access point, that's why we can find it.
It's broadcasting as BSS ID.
I thought we could only snip and we only like restrained it to the ice cream one.
No, you're not on the network right now. You're sniffing everything. You're in a crowded restaurant with lots of conversations going on. Most of them are encrypted. So I'm not finding the printer, interestingly, but somebody's on a printer.
Maybe one of the ones with bigger antennas.
Yeah, so
Oh, fancy.
no, absolutely no. We're gonna do what's called a reaver attack now. They would just absolutely stay away from that printer. We don't have permission to attack the printer. As and cool as that may sound,
You're gonna get expelled.
you're crossing the line. You're crossing the line. So you weren't supposed to find the printer. The reaver command is really easy. You're gonna type in sudo. Reaver -I. What do you think the -I stands for? Interface. If I had an antenna, I'd give it to you. I should have brought more. Your interface -B. What does the B stand for? I said it 100 times. There you go. I'll bring next. We'll bring more antennas. I promise. So if you copy and paste this in, and we won't let it. It takes a long time to run. Oh, and by the way, if every single person here starts rapid firing my little router, it's gonna melt. So let's just not do this tonight. Just know that I'll do it for you and you can watch, but if we have 40 people all DOSing my router, it's just gonna be a very long evening. There. And this just takes a long time. There's one of those things where you launch it before dinner, then when you wake up in the morning, it's done. This just takes a long time, but once this happens, once we start seeing this, at this point, what this tells us is the router has no native controls to block this type of attack. It's just a matter of time until we take control of that until we gain access to that network. I'm going to kill it here because this will run all night. But what we can do now is why don't we call it a night? There's a lot of hiccups tonight. A lot of people, those of you who didn't get it to work, you have my email address. Correspond with me, and we'll try to do it remotely. Download the slides. Feel free to practice. You all have routers at home. Again, school routers are, and what I'm teaching you tonight, don't use against the school, don't use against the business. This is simply for you to practice your craft. At this point, if you practice it, do it a few more times, you could very legitimately add to your resume. That you're a WPA, you hacker, pen tester. Don't say hacker in your resume, say pen tester.
Did it go and reach you via Discord?
I'm sorry, say again?
Are they okay to reach you via Discord?
You know, I'm not on Discord very much. Part of being 60 years old is we don't really do Discord.
That's
Um,
fine.
I go on once in a while, but I feel bad when I go on there, people have been trying to get a hold of me for months. I didn't respond. Your best bet is to email me.
Okay.
Okay,
I honestly don't mind. And there's a whole bunch of you here and say, I'm not gonna bother with email, Mike. I don't want to bother you. The answer is, I just invited you to email me. That was a very sincere invitation. So there's no reason not to email me. So question and answer, anything is fair game. Could be about web pen testing, Wi-Fi, anything you want. Or you can go home. Appreciate being invited here every year. I really enjoy it. It's I hope you invite me back next year, and I hope I can find something fun to teach next year. So thank you for always having me. For those graduating seniors, thanks for the last 3 years. I do want to say one more thing. When I've come here before, I've talked about our new college grad program at NTT. That's not working out well. Some of you have applied and not heard back. It's not been very friendly. If you're interested in an entry-level pen tester job or entry-level assessment job, please email me directly. We're setting up a new program just for cyber. So if you're graduating senior, please, and don't have a job yet, please feel free to email me and we can try to work something out. For those graduating seniors, one thing I do, not just for Cal Poly Pomona, but a lot of schools, is I probably review 100 resumes a year and give comments and feedback, and I love it. I give you feedback on it. But with that said, thank you very much, and I hope to see a lot of you.
Yeah, so y'all make sure to apply for the mentorship program.